Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's Conversations from the Field. I'm Andy Corkill, and I'm the Key Relationships Fundraising Manager here with Act for Peace. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today and for your ongoing support. I'm so glad that you're wanting to find out more about the lives of people in Jordan. I really hope that you find the next 45 minutes or so to be really interesting and you'll come away feeling inspired, seeing the differences you're making in people's lives. I've got Ruth Ann Richardson sitting next to me. She's the head of fundraising here at Act for Peace. And I'm also being joined by Faris. Morning, Faris.
Good morning.
Thanks so much for getting up early. You work with one of our partner organizations over in Jordan. Can you let me know what your role is and who the organization is?
Yeah. I'm the Executive Director of DSPR Jordan. DSPR is the Department of Services to Palestinian Refugees, established in 1949 after the Israeli occupation to Palestine. We work in 5 areas with the Palestinian refugees and other needy people in 5 areas: Jordan, Nazareth, West Bank, Gaza, and Lebanon.
Awesome. Now, thank you for that. Now, just for everyone who's listening, I just want to go over a couple of housekeeping things. We'd really love to have your questions during the conversation today. So if you do want to send them in, we'll collect them and ask them towards the end, and I'll get through as many as we possibly can. If you're watching on a desktop, you should see an orange arrow on the right-hand side of your screen. If you click that, you'll be able to type in a question and that'll come through onto my screen as we're going through. And if you're watching on a smartphone, just tap the question mark symbol and the same thing will happen. Now, Ruth Ann, who's sitting next to me, traveled to Jordan last November. And in Jordan, there's more than 660,000 Syrian refugees. They live with the pain of displacement and are lacking the most basic sort of requirements for survival: food, proper shelter and healthcare. Ruth Ann told me how hard it was, but she also, when she spoke to the team here, she said that the trip was one of the most challenging, but also one of the most beautiful experiences of her life. She spoke of the warm welcomes that she received and was so moved by the generosity shown towards her by families who were in desperate need. Tell us, everyone, more. I've heard the stories, but tell a bit more about the trip.
Absolutely. Thank you, Andy. Yes, I was really fortunate. Oh, yes, please.
Just a correction. The 660,000 are only the registered Syrian refugees. We are hosting 1.6 million.
Wow.
Thank you. Sorry about that, Faris.
And that's a really important distinction. Thank you for jumping in. Yeah, as Andy has said, I had the good fortune of traveling to Jordan to meet Faris and his team there a few months ago. And it was an incredibly beautiful and humbling experience for me. I had the chance to meet with a lot of the families that the team at DSPR is working with and that your support is helping. And I'll never forget the people I met and the welcome that they gave to us. I just wanted to touch really quickly before we start asking Faris some questions on one woman in particular who I met, her and her family, Lilia. I've recently sent you a letter about Lilia, so you may already be a little familiar with her story. I met her on my first full day in Jordan. We traveled out to see her. She was living in a tented community on the outskirts of Amman, and her and her family, with 3 young children and her husband, had fled Syria when the bombing came to her town. And she, it was so cold that day. It was raining. It was very little protection from the elements in the tent that she was living in. But she made us a hot cup of tea, and her welcome could not have been warmer despite what was happening outside. And she shared her story with us. And I remember her telling us the fear that they had when the war was getting closer to where they lived, and how difficult it was to make the decision to flee, but how it was the only decision for her family and to keep them safe. And they made the long and difficult journey to Jordan. They waited at the border until they were able to cross, and she said they went up to 4 days without any food before the Jordanian military found her and her family, and she was able to enter in. And life certainly still hasn't been easy for her, but she's just so thankful that her family is together and safe. And she spoke about the challenges that that she faces every day, but she was so brave and courageous in the way that she carried on, the way she got up every day and faced what came at her and her family, how important it was that her children were getting an education and going to school, and how much it meant to have the support of people from here in Australia and around the world who still thought of her and her family and others in her situation and what they were going through, and who cared enough to help, and just how much that meant to her. And it was really exciting to be able to share with her. And even though she had so little, she was so happy to share it, and she was so thankful to those who were coming alongside her to help her and her family get through this difficult period in her life. And so it was really beautiful, and it was just incredible to see firsthand the difference that support is making on both a practical level but also an emotional level. So thank you to you, Faris, and your team for the work that you're doing, but to all of you who are joining us today for the support that you're giving to families like Lilia's in Jordan and around the world.
And we wouldn't be doing this without your support, Australian people and Act for Peace. Thank you all.
Thank you. It's incredible just how we can, when we all chip in together, make such a difference to people's lives. But Faris, it's been 7 years since the crisis first started. The challenges, how have they changed? Is it still about food and basic necessities, or what else are the challenges that refugees are facing at the moment?
Yeah, of course, the challenges since the beginning is different than the challenges now. But still, what domain the challenges is the food for Syrian and needy families, because the decline support of WFP for food for Syrian refugees, the decline in cash to buy food for Syrian refugees. So here we stand as DSPR and other NGOs and NGOs to support these Syrians with their daily needs of food. By time there was a lot of needs assessment conducted by DSPR to stand on the challenges and needs of the Syrian refugees at the host communities. We work at the host communities, not in the recognized camps. Challenges was mainly the livelihood, how the family can generate income for their children, especially women. 75% of the families are women-headed due to the circumstances of the husband being killed or arrested or handicapped or disabled. So that's why we focused on women and children. The need for income for these families were high. Also the challenges that facing them regarding the output of the Syrian crisis, which is depression, psychosocial problems, anxiety, coexisting and coping with the surroundings. That was the main challenges we faced by time passing.
Faris, you mentioned the livelihoods programs. Can you tell me a little bit more about them? Because, as you said, a lot of the families are women-led because of the war. So what are the skills that women are now learning that can make a difference in their lives? And then how does that impact the emotional state of the women and their families?
Mm-hmm. Before the livelihood, we had we formulated the joint committees, both of Palestinian and Syrian refugees. Mainly 99% of them are women. We trained them, they became trainers, and they are part of our voluntary teams now in the camps where we are working. Of course, this makes them also generate income for their families through the training sessions that they are conducting or any other sessions they are doing. Plus, we have a major program called Start Your Business. It's a 15 days training workshop for Syrian women only. It teach them or train them how to establish a small business on home level. Mainly how to establish the project or the business, how to calculate the profit and the loss, how to enter the market, how to market your products, and how to sell it so you can generate income for your family. Plus, we have production kitchens where they can produce several things that they learn to do, because Syrian woman is very professional in homemade cooking and these things. And we have also the home garden, where we supply them with training and seeds and tools to establish a small garden which they can sell the products of these gardens. And home economic sessions also to teach them how to really generate income for their families.
So what are people cooking in their production kitchens and the home gardens? Is it, what can people make?
Okay, it's not only cooking. You have in Jordan you have 4 seasons, and each season has some kind of products. Like in the winter you have the olive oil pickling, olive oil production, cheese processing, yogurt processing, even cosmetics, manufacturing perfumes, local perfumes, and so on.
That's incredible. And what's the change in the women from before they start the program to how long is it, and by the end that they've got a viable business that they can make a difference to their lives? How does it change them?
I mentioned yesterday during the call, one of the ladies called Fatima. At the beginning of the 7 years she came, for 6 months she never left home. We tried to visit her and convince her to come and join us for the training. After 4 years now, she is saying that she was going to a psychiatric clinic because of her depression and anxiety. And after the training, and she became a member of our team, she said 1,000 pills will not cover what I feel now with the DSPR. She's a leader now with our team. Her personality is completely changed, and this is the impact we want to have on all women that we are working with.
That's an incredible story about Fatima. Thank you for sharing it. Now, tell us about how your faith, how has that compelled you to work with some of the most vulnerable communities in the world? Like, it's something so deep.
Yeah.
How is that? Share with us, please.
DSPR and the people working with DSPR make sure that the Christian witness is in everything we do. DSPR is a church-related organization, and the board of directors of DSPR consists of 4 families in Jordan, and the Christian witness is there in everything we do. Although 99.9% of people who are working with are Muslims, but we don't consider this. We consider a human being. It comes from the root of being a Christian. We have to love people, and we have to support people regardless their race or religion or color.
Yeah, no, that's and how did you end up in this position, Faris? How did you end up with DSPR? There's always a good story behind that.
Yeah. I was working in Saudi Arabia. Then I came and joined to Jordan. I came to join an institute for deaf people. We were supporting deaf with hearing impaired, hearing aids and tests. After 7 years, I was working in the camps, the Palestinian refugee camps, and I met DSPR there, and I knew what they are doing, and I loved what they are doing. Supporting people and helping them is a great thing to do. Even Jesus recommended that and told us to do that. So I joined DSPR in 2003. Now I'm 15 years with DSPR.
15 years, that's incredible. You must have changed countless lives.
Yes.
It must be incredibly hard, but yet rewarding.
Yes. If you see by the end of the day the smile on a child face or woman face, that's it.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. We've got to...
if you allow me to say something.
Please.
Act for Peace with the DSPR had a great impact on one of the ladies I told Rothan about when she came in November. She was one of our volunteers, and she got pregnant. Her husband was not working, and she has no income whatever to do the surgery and the delivery. And we, together with Act for Peace, they supported this case, and they covered the whole expenses of the operation. And she named her child with one of the employees' that we're supporting her with Act for Peace. His name is Farah. The child now is in a great health, and thanks to all to Act for Peace for that. You cannot imagine the happiness, the smile they on the face of the mother that time.
Faris, you've stolen my thunder. I was about to ask you that question of what differences do you see in the lives of people that you're serving? So do you have another story? Tell me another. You got another good news story? You have to have hundreds of them.
Thousands of stories. You know, one name of a lady in the north of Jordan. Her name is Khawla. Also, she had been visiting a doctor for her case. She never left home for 2 years, and we convinced her eventually to come and join the DSPR. She was trained and she became a volunteer with us on psychosocial issues. Now she's a trainer on psychosocial because she felt what people are feeling, and now she's a great trainer. The smile does not leave her face. She's completely changed. She's completely a different person than she came 7 years ago.
No, that's amazing. And so what are the greatest needs that you have, that people have right now? Is it food? And what are the other ways that we're able to help?
Yeah. Food, as I said earlier, food is still essential. But what they need now is more than on livelihood programs that generate income for them. Especially Syrians are not allowed to work in Jordan. They are not allowed to have work permit. After London conviction in 2014, I think, Jordan allowed to issue work permit for 200,000 Syrian refugees, but on specific vocations. So it's very limited. That's why we focused on livelihood program, and now we are working also with another NGO, INGO, which is called ECHO, Netherlands. They are trying to support us with restart up businesses for Syrian refugees in Jordan, in the host communities.
Now that's amazing. And just hearing that story again that you said about the production kitchens, how it really does make such an impact on people's lives. Is there another story about that when someone has gone and learnt that skill, and it sounds incredible that they can make yogurt and cheese and have tell me a little bit about the garden.
The garden, okay. We have different kinds of gardens. It's not only seeds. I have a case in North also, in Husn camp, for one lady called Sabah. I will send you the small video of her project later on. She established a home garden for ducks and chickens. So after she got the training at the production kitchen and the Start Your Business. And now she had maybe I can say 2,000 to 3,000 chicken and hens and ducks producing eggs and selling the small hens and chickens to the local market. It's a great business now, and it really changed her life completely. Now she's a businesswoman, we can say.
Amazing. I've just, Jocelyn, one of our people, has actually asked a question a little bit about the status of women in Palestinian communities.
Mm-hmm.
How free are they to leave the house to go and get work and training and get access to these programs?
In the host communities, there is no limit for leaving her house. She's free to go out. She's free to work. She's free to attend anything, except not like the recognized camps in Zatari and Mafraq and Irbid. It's not easy to go out. In the host communities, they are free to go. At the beginning, we had difficulties with husbands who came with their wives. You know, the culture of Syrian refugees, especially in the countrysides and the remote areas, do not allow women to go out and work or even get training. They stay at home for cooking and taking care of the children. But the idea now in Jordan, so it completely changed. Women is free, and if you come once to our camps, you can find ladies are there for more than 8 hours. And they spend time in our centers more than they spend time in their houses.
Wow.
Actually, Faris, can you talk a little bit about that, about I guess the safe space that you created for women to come, where they feel comfortable, where they can share, because it's not just about learning new skills there, is it? It's also a community of women, and you spoke about Fatima. One of the things I love the most about her story is the example that it must be for others who are in a similar situation to be able to get that support from someone who's been there themselves.
Yeah. At the beginning, when we convinced women to come to our centers, they were just listening and listening to Palestinian women who were residing at these centers and coming to get training and sessions. Time by time, they start talking about themselves, the experience they faced since they left Syria, and then they move to the final stage where they become very active and become teaching other women, encouraging other women from Syrians who are not leaving, who doesn't know about DSPR or other organization, to come to the centers and talk about their problems. Exchanging experiences, especially with Palestinian refugees, they know the sufferings, they feel the suffering, the same suffering they have. Help them also to cope with these families. If you go to their houses, you can find some Syrian refugees living with Palestinians at the same house, without rent, without anything, just to support them because they felt the same suffering they had. So this is the story. At the same goes with another 8 governorates that we are working with.
Thank you. And the children, what's schooling like for them? How are they receiving an education? What's the situation?
Children are allowed to go to government schools in Jordan only, unless you have some people who have some money to send them to private schools, or through support of other donors or other agencies and NGOs. For us, we adopted several programs for children and small girls. We have children forums where they practice non-formal education, recreational activities. We established 2 kindergartens for children under 5 years old. And we established a program called non-formal education for girls who drop out from schools due to the economic situation of their families, who cannot afford to pay for school fees. We give lessons, we give educational opportunities for them for free at our centers.
Awesome. And another question that we've been asked is from Jane is, how do you maintain hope when you see so much need over such a long period of time?
How do, again, I couldn't listen.
Oh, sorry. How do you maintain hope over such a long time when you see so much need?
We try to cope with their needs as much as we can. We now people know the DSPR very well and know what we are doing for people and what the impact we did on them. We try to do what we call needs assessment, regular needs assessments for people needs, and cope with these needs through the appeal that we are setting to ACT Alliance. Our program is different from year to another according to the real needs of these people. I need to do something also, if you excuse me. We have also a very important program on health and medical for Syrian refugees. We do free medical days for them. We refer them to hospitals and we provide them with free medicine. All this is from the DSPR support.
And another one is from Mary. She wants to know, what's the most rewarding part of your job?
To see the smile on the children's faces and women's faces, to see them coping with their lives now, to see them happy, to see them coming to our centers and saying that we only feel happy when we come to the DSPR's premises and facilities. The smile on their faces means a lot to us.
It really does. And what's the biggest challenge that you face day to day, but then the long-term structural one?
On the ground, the challenge is always changing, but for us, we feel now, because a crisis, when it's come long and long, more fund will be declining. So we have a problem with funding now, especially from agencies that have government backed donors. Now they are focusing on other areas, disaster areas, more than the Syrian refugee problem, the Syrian crisis. This is the main challenge we are facing to cope with the programs that we are need to submit to these people.
Rutan, you got
the only
oh, sorry, no.
The only international donor that did not really stop or decline its fund was Act for Peace, honestly.
One more that's come in is Sean is wanting to know what your hope is for the community that you work with.
I answered that yesterday also. One day they want to go back home, especially Syrians. Palestinians already 70 years in Jordan and have nationalities, and I don't think one day they will go back because of this situation. But Syrians, for sure, maybe 4 or 5 years later, they will eventually go home. And we did also a survey for 1,000 women to see what after the political solution in Syria, they will go back or not. Most of them, or 75% of them, said that we have to wait for another 4 or 5 years to make sure that Syria is safe, and that time we will think to go back.
That's it. I think it changes a lot of the things that people think about here, that refugees want to go home. It's not an often thought about thing in Australia that people just want to go home.
No, they want to go home, but I'm sure part of what we did for the last 7 years is changing these people's attitudes, personalities, how they will become after they go home. One of the ladies said that when I go home, I will establish my own business. One of the ladies said that I will establish my own NGO and start training people who are in need and suffers from the trauma and the war. So the mentality now, especially for women, is completely changed, not only through DSPR, but through the other organizations.
Going home might still be many years away. As you mentioned, there's obviously a real longing to know that it's safe before they move their families back home. But what, if anything, are you doing to help prepare people for when that day comes? Because what they'll be going home to will be very different, I imagine, than what they left in terms of just starting over.
Exactly. They need to start over, but it will not be easy to go back home. Syria is completely demolished, and it needs years and years to be new again, but it will not become the same Syria. Women used to go for cooking and farming or other, but if she goes back now, things will not be the same. They will suffer for years till they are established, and they will suffer from the impact of war on their lives and their children. They lost so many dear persons. Things will not be the same.
On that side of things, as you just touched on, and it's good to be reminded of, they've been through so much. We've talked a lot about the physical, I guess, ways that DSPR is helping, but what emotional support are you giving to these women and children and men as well?
Yeah, we have so many programs established since the start of the beginning of the crisis. We have psychosocial programs for children, for men if they are available, mainly for women. We formulated mother support groups to support these women on their daily lives. We established children forums for children to practice their educational and recreational activities. We established women forums, youth forums, so many programs related to psychosocial needs that made a difference on their lives. We build capacities for them also.
Let me just check with Deb whether there's any more comments that I covered everything that's come through pretty much. Just Faraz, I just was wondering, do you have any particular messages that you want to share, another story with the churches that faithfully give and support this work across Australia? Is there something that you want to really share with them and let them know what what the difference that they're making to people's lives, how they are making food available, how they are giving skills and changing people's outlooks and giving them hope for when they return.
Yeah. I just want to mention something that we started a program last year, which called Churches and Church-Related Organizations' Role in Community Development, especially in the time of crisis. In Jordan, to be honest, it is very limited, the role of churches in doing a support for Syrian refugees. Some churches, and they are doing that, but some are not. For the churches in Europe and in Australia, their role is very, very vital, and I see a big role for them. They are playing different than the churches here in Jordan. They are doing very, very well in supporting refugees. And I encourage them and ask them for continuous support for these people. They are in bad need. And especially special thanks to the people of Australia, the churches of Australia, and Act for Peace for the continuous support. Without them, we would not do anything of what I mentioned before. Thank you, and God bless you all.
Sorry, Faris, I cut in there. Are there any particular things that you want churches to pray for?
Pray for these people to settle and go back home. Maybe DSPR will not work if they left. DSPR will not work in this momentum. But again, I feel with the Syrians, okay, with the people in need, that they are not home and they need to go back home. So I encourage them and hope for them to go back home and be settled once.
Thank you. And Faris, when I was there, I know many of the families that I met said how much it meant to them just to know on an emotional level that people in Australia and around the world care. Can you just touch on that?
Yeah. Every time I go to centers, especially in Talbiya, because Talbiya was the focus and the focal point for the work you did, they were asking about Ruth Ann. They were asking when Kaz will come back. They were asking, is there any letters coming from them to us? Especially there is an Egyptian woman, a Christian Egyptian woman, who was living in that camp and hosted by Muslim people. She was asking about Kaz at that time. Jess and all people, you meant a lot to them. Your work made a difference on their lives, and they will never forget you, I'm sure. Even they went back home.
That's amazing. Faris, I think that's probably enough. We've covered a lot today, so thank you for getting in early to and make the time to talk to us, and to everyone who's for the webinar. If you do have any other questions or want to know more about our work, or even make a special gift to support the work that's happening with DSPR or the wider work with Act for Peace, please get in touch with me. I think pretty much everyone has received emails from my address, so reply to that or call us at the Act for Peace line or info@actforpeace.org.au. You can get in touch with me, and I'd really be delighted to talk about the different ways that you can make a really significant contribution to the work that DSPR is doing and other programs around the world. So thank you again for everyone joining us. Ruth Ann, for sharing your time and your story. Faris, for all that you've shared, and
one more thing.
For the hope and just those insights and hearing those amazing changes that happen to people's lives.
He has more he would like to say.
Oh, hang on.
Can I say something? Something?
Because I was about to, go for it.
I say it to everyone. One comes from Act for Peace. I don't know why is that. Every single person who is working with Act for Peace will take one visit only to the SPR, and we feel that they are been here for 10 years or 12 years or 20 years. Even you now, I just met you now. I feel that you are part of us, really. It's not a compliment. It's true what I say. And from the bottom of my heart, all people of Act for Peace are friends and brothers, sisters for us here. Thank you very much for you.
Thank you for letting all of us, and that's us who work at Art for Peace and our supporters, thank you for letting us be a part of the work that you're doing every single day. It's incredible what you do. It's incredible the way you reach these communities. It's incredible the way you come alongside them. And for us, it's just a delight to be able to work with you and to help enable you to do the work that you do. And thank you for spending the time with us to tell us a little bit more about that work, and to bring us and to bring our supporters who are contributing to this work every day a little bit closer to what it is that's happening there in Jordan every single day.
You are part of us, not only part of our work.
Thank you.
Thank you, Faris. One day I hope that I can come over and see you as well, be part of the family.
You are most welcome.
Thank you.
You should come all together so I can host you at my house one day. And eat typical food of Jordan, mansaf, if you know mansaf.
Thank you, Faris, and to everyone who's tuned in, thank you so much for taking the time, for spending your afternoon watching Faris and I and Ruth Ann have a chat, and for sending in your questions. And I really do hope that you all can join us for the next conversation when we talk with another one of our partners from the field. So thank you very much, and Faris, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.